Call this meeting to order. A roll call with commissioners.
Commissioner Bailey.
Present.
Commissioner Bunting.
Present.
Commissioner Gay.
Present.
Commissioner Owens.
Present.
Commissioner Smith.
Here. George, you want to lead us in vacation?
Most gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you for the day that you've given to us, and especially, Father, that we've been praying for rain and you've allowed that to happen. We just want to say thank you for that. We ask, Father, you be with us tonight to the liberation of the folks of Gratiot County. For it's in his name we pray, amen. Amen.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any deletions or additions to the agenda?
So it's not really, should I do that in public comment?
Anytime.
Okay, so I did get, she wanted to have it on the agenda as far as there's a free tire collection that the Gratiot Conservation District is going to host. It is Saturday, September 16th from 10 to 3 at the Gratiot County Fair grounds, which is at 701 South Lincoln Avenue in Elma. So it's one thing, what she would like you to do is take these to your districts so that you can let them know that there's a free tire collection.
There's a QR code on that too, so you can put your phone on it and get all the information on that advertisement. So,
Yes,
You can also find it on our Facebook page too,
put it on our website.
on our Facebook
On our
page, and
Facebook.
on our website.
important that you
So hopefully.
get the townships, they can know that because we're only gonna pick up 1,000 tires because that's all the grant's for, but there'll be some down the road. So we're gonna see how this system works. So I anticipate it won't take long to get 1,000 tires. Not at all. So, but this will tell them how to do it, where to call, how to make the reservations, that type of things. I've been attending the meetings just so a little liaison work going on, but it's all good.
Any other comments? Anybody out there? Yeah.
That was addition deletions to the agenda, so we need to approve those.
I thought you moved to the comments. You got ahead of us.
Sorry.
Okay, we need to approve the additions and deletions to the agenda.
So move. Or.
Move supported, all in favor?
All right.
Opposed? We already had brief public comment from Angie, and then we can, anybody else? Any comment? Nobody out there, man?
Nope, there's nobody online right now.
Anybody want to pull anything from the consent calendar?
Move the consent calendar. Support.
Supported to approve this consent calendar. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Administrator.
All right, so far to date, we have had a very good response for our Veterans Affairs Director position that is open. Very hopeful that we will be able to fill that with an experienced person coming up very shortly. And I have no doubt that it is we've garnered the interest because through this last round, this board did increase the rate of pay for that director's position that compensated what we considered fairly. Real quick, Health Department HVAC updates, still sorting through some equipment failures from the lightning strike. Tony has removed the tower that was on top of the building, which is the primary reason why it was struck by lightning. So we're hoping that'll decrease any electricity flow from the heavens in the future. The contractors identified a second failure, which they have now drawn up some estimates that will need to be sent to our insurance company. The insurance company has been great to work with, but I would not be surprised if they did send somebody out for a second opinion for this one as the claims keep rolling in. But they were aware that it was not going to be a one and done type of claim. because it was going to take some time to figure out what type of electronics would fail now and what would fail in the future because of this surge. So we are working very close with the health department to rectify this. The one that is not working right now is in the center of the building, and it's not where the offices are located. So the offices are being cooled at this moment. We will have a union negotiation update in closed session at the end of this meeting. So throughout this meeting, or throughout our review of the budget, let's save anything that might be related to union negotiations for closed session. We have confirmed with the state that our county land bank has been created and will be eligible for the $500,000 grant to get us started. So that is good news. Thank you to the treasurer. Thank you to Greater Gratiot for getting that going for us. Our second community opioid resource team meeting will be held on August 15th. Tonight, we're going to go through the MAC presentation that was prepared for us at our first meeting and put together by Amy Dolinky from MAC. So that will be on the agenda coming forward. We have received our most recent MERS pension funding report. Our funding has dropped, unfortunately, from 95% funded in the pension fund down to 91% funded. Our asset valuation stayed roughly the same, or actually our liability stayed roughly the same. It went from 37.8 million up to 38 million. So it went up $200,000. Our valuation of assets dropped $700,000. So we lost about $900,000 in value there between the liability going up and the valuation of our assets going down. Our assets went from 35.5 million to 34.8, like dropping $700,000. That's gonna.
What's the time frame? What's the time frame for that drop?
1 year from 12/31/21
Oh,
to
that's
12/31/22.
okay.
So they'll start a new one again at the end of this calendar year.
And we would expect it to go back up because of.
Well, God, I hope so. 7% inflation.
Well, yeah. It's going back.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Mhm.
We got to do something different if they lost money this year.
Oh, yeah.
It is going to affect our annual payments to MERS because there is a 9% unfunded liability now. Our annual payment that I consider to MERS, I lump in what our bond payment is also, because that would be our total liability related to the pension fund. It's going to go from 1.1 million last year or current year. Next year, it'll go up to 1.43 million. So it's going to go up $330,000. And that's money that we're going to have to make up somewhere, find somewhere in the budget as we go through this. So we'll be cognitive of that when we go through the budgeting process. Marnie is our district representative from MERS, and I recommend that we have her come back in and present to the board so that she can educate you, ask questions, and we can talk about OPEB and pension trust funds. I would like to schedule that. Is that okay if we schedule it for the second meeting in August or first meeting in September?
Sooner the better.
Very good. Blight cases are starting to roll in from the 5 new members that we have added under our ordinance. And unfortunately, some of the open cases have been stalling out also. At the suggestion of a couple of commissioners, we're going to see if there is support to amend the ordinance to include cleanup by the county to be billed to the homeowner as a measure of last resort. Rather than that's currently not in our ordinance, and some commissioners had thought that was part of it. And this is just an investigatory stage, but we will be looking to see what that would look like to add, and if there would be support from the members that we have currently. Sheila has created an employee engagement committee that has been established to help boost the morale in the workplace around the courthouse and at the outbuildings. The first item on their agenda is a good old fashioned potluck that's going to be scheduled later this month. I think you should have gotten an email from Britton, who works up in the treasurer's office. If you would like to participate, you do not need to bring a dish to participate, obviously, but it'd be wonderful to see some of the commissioners stop by for that potluck if you have availability. And lastly, our healthcare meetings are next week with 44 North to see what our options are for the next fiscal year. Historically, the finance chair has attended these meetings, so we will be extending an invitation to the finance chairman, George, again this year, if you're interested. That concludes my report. Happy to answer any questions.
It wasn't on that, but did the animal control, did they get their new truck?
Animal control does not have their new truck yet.
Okay.
It's one of those things where the 2023 models are back ordered to where they won't get it. So they're going to give him a 2024 model. They were looking to upcharge him a little bit, but I asked that if they were to upcharge that they would go through me for that.
Okay, I was just curious.
Why does there seem to be such a lag time on mirrors? Why are we still doing 20? We're gonna go into the 23-24 budget here in a few months. And we're still dealing with 21-22 with it. Why is there such a lag time?
Ideally, what we would want to see is a report that coincided with our fiscal year end, which would be 9/30. I don't know if when we started with MERS, if our fiscal year was the calendar year. So that's when they started doing it. I have asked if we could get on a 9/30 schedule. And they said that we were unable to change it when I asked them about that. It does take 6 to 7 months for them to kick out that report. I don't know why it takes that long. I do get quarterly reports on a regular basis, but this is a report that is put together by actuaries. And it's a fairly lengthy report, and I will have it uploaded in our next.
And that's all their operations commingled together. Or just ours.
It is just ours. It's a report specifically for our account.
There was some commingling of funds when we talked to her a few years ago. That one. Maybe I'm wrong, but before we paid it down or what our debt was and stuff, we bought it. They were trying to explain that it was a whole thing, the whole network of what they do, because they pretty much put everybody in the same pool.
Right.
And so that whole pool went south. We had to split the losses of what our portion was or something.
So yes, we are an investment pool that is in with other counties, other cities, other municipalities. We are invested in the same shares that they are.
Okay. All righty. Anything else for Chris? Commissioners reports.
I didn't attend the last meeting. I was on vacation with my children, had a good time. But before that, I attended a meeting in township meeting in North Star, Lafayette, and Wheeler. Also attended the Breckenridge Village meeting. Also attended the last health department meeting last week. Everything is reported going well with everybody. There's no big hiccups or problems. It's just a situation normal.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't go to any meetings. So I wasn't gonna say anything, but I did, it was kind of disturbing that I went to the Gratiot County Fair for Youth. And I didn't go to the Republican meeting last Wednesday, I think. Maybe you guys know this, but I was searching for the Republican booth there, and then I finally asked a lady, and she said that they weren't invited to the Republican or Democratic booth. They weren't invited because, like last year, I guess there was tension, and they didn't want that, understandably.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of threw me, back. It's really in public. Well, anytime, make a real effort to be cordial.
Well, I think it's tough for some of them. It gets to be personal sometimes, I think, and.
Yeah.
All righty. Dave?
I was at the fair yesterday and I didn't see the booth, but I didn't ask anybody. And I went to the Greater Gratiot meeting. Nothing terribly exciting there. And I went and watched a wind turbine go up. Good Lord, it took all stinking day. But it was kind of interesting. One piece at a time. And that crane, you almost had to line it up with a post to see it go up.
Like watching paint dry.
Yeah. Hate to admit that I wasn't real busy that day.
So like watching paint dry.
Yeah, so that's all I have.
Jim?
Okay, I had an Elmo meeting last week, an Elmo City meeting. And I went to Michigan Works meeting yesterday in Midland. And that was our executive board meeting. Also, there's some literature I'm gonna have sent out to you about a cut where Michigan Works federal is going, or the federal government is cutting Michigan Works. And so they're very concerned, and the effect that it will have on every county in the state of, well, every county in the state of Michigan, probably all the United States. So, so I'll send that literature to you, get it to you. And then I also attend. Oh, no, it's tomorrow night. I go to an MSU meeting tomorrow night in St. John's. And that's at the fair. And that is to, I'm not sure, MSU Extension has some things that they want to show all of the counties about the fairs, the animals, stuff like that.
All right. North of Park and Rec meeting, Dan was there. Basically, they're put together some of their budget here. I don't know if they have it all reported to us or not. For next year. I was at a Washington Township meeting. Everything seems to be rolling along there. They're gonna get some bids or whatever to build onto their building. And they're putting in the ramp and some parking changes and stuff out there. So that's kind of where that's at. New business. The front door.
Well, I've seen probably the last 3 meetings now. One of our front doors has been propped open. The secondary door, not the security door on the outside. And what's happened there is one of the hydraulics inside the box is no longer operational or repairable. What we did is we went and we got 2 bids for that to replace the hydraulics for both sets of doors. And the reason that we want to replace both sets is because they were put in there at the same time. So the likelihood of failure of the second one is, because the first one failed, we're worried that the second one will fail also. If you tried to move the door is not movable. So if the outer door breaks and it's open, we won't be able to shut it. And that would be a security issue. So like I said, we went out and got 2 bids. One was for Gilbo's Lock and Safe, $10,979. The second through Automatic Equipment Sales at $11,811. That is 50% more, or 100% more than what it cost when we originally installed those 6, 7, 8 years ago. Unfortunately, it seems to be the cost of business. We were unable to find any more. And the reason it's been 4 weeks since it broke to bring this to you is because it took us that long just to find a second estimate. It's not something that people around here would want to touch. What I am requesting from the board is that we would award the lowest bid that we received to get those fixed.
I move to approve.
I'll second it.
Moved and supported to hire, was it Gilbo's to repair those front doors out there. Any questions? All in favor?
I,
Carries. The opioid.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and if you just give me a second, I'm going to share this opioid settlement PowerPoint. Let everybody can follow along. This is a presentation that was catered directly to Gratiot County for our opioid settlement funds. It's going to go ahead. It was created by MAC by Amy Delinky. She was very nice and came out and presented it to the community resource team a couple weeks ago. So I'm just going to run through real quick with the commissioners. So the total estimated funds for the entire state of Michigan is about $1.5 billion. With a little more than half of it going to the state, a little less going to local municipalities, including Gratiot County. Page 2 of it shows who the settlements will be with. I'm going to go ahead and skip down. Currently, Gratiot County has settled with Walmart, Teva, J&J, CVS and Allergan for the amounts shown there. The largest being J&J, a little over $1 million. Now, these funds will come to us over a period of 15 to 20 years. So that $1.7 million is not what is in the bank. Since this PowerPoint has been created, we did settle with our last outstanding plaintiff, which was Walgreens. And I believe that was in the neighborhood of somewhere around $250,000. Just last week, I finalized the paperwork for that. There's detail on each of the settlements here. I'm not going to go through all of those, but they are there for you to look at. If you want a reference to each individual settlement, I'm going to jump to allowable uses, which is slide 6. 15% of the funds that we get can have no requirements for use. So essentially, they're topping off 15% for indirect costs for the work that we put into this. I would recommend that we find a specific source that we use these 15% for every year. I do have a suggestion to use that for the sheriff's office. We have some cyclical equipment replacements that are currently unfunded that this would be perfect for. And once we get to the capital projects list a little bit, I will share that with you. And the other 85% of the funds must be used for opioid remediation, of which 70% has to be for forward future remediation. So an example of future remediation would be funding opioid treatment in the jail going forward, or funding a therapeutic treatment care at some treatment service center within Gratiot County. So it can't go towards refunding us from costs that we've had in the past. So the definition of remediation would be addressing the misuse and abuse of opioid products, treat or mitigate opioid use or related disorders, or mitigate other alleged effects of, including on those injured as a result of the opioid epidemic. Additional settlements, we're talking about a few plaintiffs that actually Gratiot County is not involved in, one of them being Myers. And when we asked Matt why we weren't a part of the Myers lawsuit, they responded it was because it was invite only for some of the larger counties, and we did not get an invite despite the fact that we have a Myers in our county. We were all just as surprised as I'm sure you are right now. There are several others, Purdue Pharma, Endo, I don't even know how to say that one, Malin Rocked, but the way that the settlements for those are written up is those funds will not go directly to the counties. They will go to a regional provider. So Gratiot County will not receive those settlements. They will receive some of the services that the settlements will pay for. It just won't be controlled by the Board of Commissioners.
You know what the services are?
The services have not yet been determined. The state of Michigan is going to be getting about half of the settlement funds too, and they're also going to roll services out. So we may see some trickle down from the state of Michigan to help support some of our local resource providers. Max settlement.
I'd like to better understand. The opioid funds come from pharmaceutical companies.
The lawsuit,
A lawsuit.
yes,
Those pharmaceutical companies, though, they sell legal
yeah.
drug. This is legal.
It was prescribed.
So, why, there's retail stores involved. Are they sued for selling them? How are they involved?
Well, the pharmaceuticals were able to push prescriptions for opioids. They were able to promote their drugs to get into the hands of people in our communities. I don't know the exact details, and I'm not going to accuse them of what they did.
Because of the reoccurrence of the prescriptions being filled by a certain individual was way high, and they were never reported.
My understanding of some of it was that there were funds that went to doctors. And so when a doctor would prescribe it, you maybe get 3 refills of it, And so they promoted that. The companies handed it all the way down right to doctors who were pushing it out the door. And there was some stuff like in little small towns like in Kentucky and Tennessee, they maybe had 10,000 people and they prescribed 3 million pills to that little community. And if half of them were taking it, they were all taking a lot of.
Right. And they're selling a lot of it.
And just, so that's where the whole lawsuit thing kind of comes from. And then we were just represented in a class action lawsuit here in the state of Michigan.
I think I heard about that, but
Yeah,
the pills were they painkillers?
yeah, like Oxycontin and stuff.
Yeah.
Example, I went and had my hip replaced 3-4 years ago. I mean, I got a jug of them. I think there were 75 pills. And I got like 5 refills of Oxycontin.
Yeah.
Took 2 Tylenol. It took the rest of yours to burn.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So the pharmaceutical companies that make oxycodone, they're the ones.
they're part of
It's fine.
it. They were paying, and then it went to the distributors like to Walgreens and things like that, and whoever handed them out. I think there was just money probably paid your own all the way down the road. Pharmaceuticals were getting rich,
So
richer.
like Walmart, how are they involved? They distributed
In their pharmacy.
through their pharmacy.
Right.
So they're fined, they're fined or?
Well, they were sued, so.
So,
They were part of the lawsuit,
so,
and they made a settlement.
but they get part of this fund.
Walmart does, they're paying in part of the fund.
They're paying in part of the.
Yes.
They're paying in, and the next distributor, if it was ABC distributing, it brings it to them, they're paying in. And if it come from Pfizer or whoever, they're paying. Those guys who made it, I think, were the biggest payers into the fund.
Correct.
So we're just getting a small portion. We were represented by, Sam,
Bernstein.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Mark was here.
So yeah, we're expected to get about $2 million over 20 years. You know, so if you average that out, we're looking at about $100,000 a year. So in order to make a difference in our community, to provide resources, opioid resources or remediation, we're not going to be able to do a lot, but we can do something. We will be able to find one area that we could be able to increase the resources available for our residents. So that's what the resource team that I'm working with, that's going to be meeting on the 15th. We're going to try to find out where we feel like the resources are lacking in our county and make a couple recommendations to the board. $100,000 a year could go a long ways towards providing, A, B, and C, and seeing what the county board thinks about that.
Yeah, you'd be 85,000 to 15, we could spend whatever,
Yeah.
so.
And I definitely would recommend that we would keep that 15% to help.
Yeah,
I'll move on the 15% that we could freely spend. Your suggestion, go to the jail.
We'll work that. We don't need a motion for that. We're just gonna go ahead and work that rate in the budget, if that's okay with the board. I'm not prepared to have that part of the budget yet, but that's what I would like.
look at that, 15, 18 grand a year, you had it just in a line item. And then looked at it and said, this is really this year, it's gonna be, if it's 3 years down the road. You spent 10 of it, you got 5 left, and you get another 15 next year. And something else pops up here somewhere else that we could use it for, instead of just saying it all goes to the sheriff's department for 20 years.
Absolutely.
We just had a line item that says, this is our money to spend now, we need to, and if it's. He gets short of cars, or he gets something, whatever he needs, then a board can make a decision on how to spend some of that money. Instead of just line item right to him.
Definitely.
You might be the only one here in 15 years, so.
Angie will be here.
Angie's will be, yeah, she'll be 35.
So yeah, right now we have $212,000 in the account, so 15% of that is eligible to be appropriated as something that is non-opioid related. And we'll talk about that as
Yeah,
we
budget time.
work
So, yeah,
budgets.
and like I say, we just had a line item veto for it, or a line item for that fund.
That's also something that can be set aside during the year if something unexpectedly comes up.
Yeah,
We don't know how we're gonna pay for it in a certain fund. Well,
yeah.
we could revert to that. So Mac went ahead and they just laid out the steps that they would like to see us take and trying to figure out how to use this money the best way possible. Step one, stakeholder engagement, and that's something that we've already done. We've reached out to Gin, the hospital, substance abuse and suicide prevention, made sure that the sheriff's office is involved in talking about what we can do. And also Mid-Michigan Health District has been involved, and we'll be adding to that. We're in the process of gathering information. Next meeting, we're going to work on putting some data together. What are we good at? Where can we get better? And that's what we want to bring to you. Hopefully where we can get better. And MAC has been wonderful. They have dedicated staff that will help us take our call, email us, and show up. And they put this presentation together for us.
Well, it's good that they're seeing it all over the state, so they'll have a good idea of where these funds can be used, that you won't be any problem with them. They'll know that we started an opioid fund for something here and it's not qualified or something. They'll know what's qualified where that money can go. So that'd be a good thing.
Yes. And even having Liz with the health department that works with 3 counties.
Yeah.
She's been an amazing resource also because she's involved in it. Not just here, but other counties too. So she's very, very thankful to have her voice in this committee. I don't have anything else to present on that at the time, but if you have any questions, let me know right now. Write them down. I'll get you the answers if I don't know them. Most likely I don't know them right now, but we have a really good team.
It looks like you're gonna move along and we'll be in compliance. Just looking at the 15% that we can do. We put it in a line item.
Yes. You know, the 70% of the 85% that has to work on future remediation. I need to figure out more detail on that portion that's not covered. What does that mean that it doesn't have to be used for future remediation? What is past remediation? I don't understand the definition of that yet, but if that's something that can help us out here at the county. Or some of these other nonprofits, we'll have to identify what that can be used for.
You see, I thought when we started this, remember we had to put some stuff together about, the courts put some stuff together. I think the sheriff put some stuff together about dollars and cents that they'd spent on drug abuse in the court system, drug abuse, what we had to do over there.
That was fact finding.
That was fact finding to figure out, you know, in that past remediation, I thought that some of that money could come back. And Mac would know that some of that money could come back and reimburse the sheriff's department or the court system.
That's why they're putting together this whole package, because it's not only just the sheriff. It's the mental health. Has to
Right.
deal with
But I mean, if you had to,
abuse, suicide prevention, which is substance abuse. There's so many different avenues.
all right, I think some of the money probably could, if it could go back and pay some of those groups for what they've already put into the game.
I'm sure that's what they're.
Yeah, the past
planning
remediation.
on doing. Yeah.
I remember when they were the ones who put the numbers together.
All righty, Mr. Chairman, before we move on. And I might have missed it, but our director for 911 is here. And he put I don't know if everybody said, I just saw this. He put a request on our desk and I don't know if you understand the system. You're not on our agenda. No?
That may have been from the previous meeting.
Oh.
You were here,
I just saw it.
Yes, sorry about that.
Heck, I didn't see the agenda. Okay,
He introduced him,
okay.
so.
Well, I saw him back there and I'm like, what's going on? Okay,
New car.
okay, hey, that's good.
I was like, yeah.
Welcome to Gratiot County. Okay, no problem.
I was thinking, I don't see what here.
Dave, are you?
Okay.
on-
I didn't know why you sat back there thinking we're gonna do something, but I didn't see it.
Got it on the calendar.
Okay, I didn't bring the minutes to you. I should have. I didn't think about it.
No problem. All right.
Okay, we'll look at some of the budget stuff here. Chris is just getting started on this for next year.
Yeah, so my goal with the budget is, today I'm going to bring and start going over with you, what I have done with the general fund. The general fund budget is approximately 65% be done. I thought it'd be fine just to bring it to you and get, some of the commissioners who have not gone through a budget season a little acclimated with how to read the budget documents. So I'm going to go through what I have in the general fund, and then we're going to go over the capital projects list. I just want to thank Sheila Barnaby for helping me organize the capital projects list. So after we go over what we have here, we'll look at the projects that we'd like to accomplish next year. George, you're one of the more seasoned, reviewing commissioners here.
Well, what I asked Chris to do is when he put this document before us, this is for the general fund. Okay, and this is basically what the commissioners are assigned to do. That's their task, is to make sure the general fund is in good shape. And one of the tools that we'd like to use is, what did we do the previous year? What did we do this year? And what do we expect to do next year? And it spells it out really clearly on every item. So that we can see automatically if something goes up and something goes down, and then you can say, well, okay, it went up $200,000. Why did it do that? You know, those are the questions that we need to ask so that we can understand why the budget is the way it is.
So I'll always present to you the total amount of expenditures in a department. And then behind that, I will also always present to you the detail, the individual line items. Now, individual, my department is usually 1 or 2 pages. Individual line items is a 100-page long document. So it's actually by law, we're required, the county administration is required to present to you three years of data, like George said. And it really helps to focus in on the fluctuations. So George, looking at this summary, I mean, what's the first thing that stands out to you as a fluctuation that as a commissioner, you want to ask a question about to me as I present this? Because you're going to have a whole month to go over this data. You're going to have a lot of time to look at this. This is not the first time you're going to see it. We're not going to make any decisions on it tonight. So looking at this general government, what's probably the first thing that pops out that would be a good question to ask me why there's a fluctuation?
Well, you look at the Board of Commissioners, one thing.
All right, so the current year is the 22-23, which is the middle column. One to the right, the request, that is what we would like to propose for next year. So we see that goes from 258,000 to 338,000. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to jump to the actual detail. I do have notes here, but I want to show you how to look at the detail. Everything is in numeric order. So we see all the way to the left, Board of Commissioners 101-101. The next one is 101-131. It's all in numeric order. So when I go to the general fund budget detail, which is the second attachment that I put in front of you, I find Department 101 Board of Commissioners. It starts with the revenues, the money coming in. And then if you scroll down, it'll start with expenditures. And we see the $338,000 all the way to the right. Now, the reason that expenditures go up is because through the Board of Commissioners and the general fund, interest is distributed to other funds. So when our bank account posts its monthly interest, it is deposited into 101-101. So let's say $50,000 was deposited this month, but $25,000 of that belongs to all the other funds. Some of it goes to central dispatch because they have money. Some of it goes to Parks and Rec because they have money. So $50,000 is deposited and then $25,000 is distributed. So it's creating an expenditure, but there's revenue that offsets it also. So it's not having a negative effect on our budget. And the reason that went up so much is because interest rates have gone up and we're generating more interest in our bank accounts. And the only other item that went up in there is legal advice. And that's because we do charge our legal fees related to turbine depreciation schedules to this department. But then again, at the same time, we deposit revenue in this department for all the municipalities that reimburse us for these legal fees. And we are getting very close to closing out all of those. So hopefully we will not spend that money on legal fees next fiscal year. I'm hoping that we will be settled. So does that answer your question, George, on why that went up?
Yep.
For the general government, we do have salaries and wages have been adjusted for negotiations that occurred last year. When we get down to Public safety, we do not have salaries that have been adjusted because we're currently in negotiations. So we do expect those to bump up, should we increase salaries for road patrol and corrections. I just want to point out that under administration in 101-172, we do see that a decrease from 480,000 to 435,000. This was explained when you hired me and we did the reorganization. I explained that we would be able to operate with one less staff and show a decrease in expenditures going forward. So you do see that. Also equalization 101-225. I'm just looking at the summary sheet here, going from 256,000 to 238,000. That is directly related to the reorganization there where we now share an employee with the city of Alma. So we are seeing cost savings there.
Page was that on?
Yeah, but.
It's not on those pages. I'm speaking to just the summary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Over here.
So
Right there.
172 is the administrator and then equalizer. Yep.
Okay.
The county shares in with Alma. So
The equalization department, we are sharing an employee with the city of Alma. The employee works 40 hours a week, but it is split in two part-time positions. So a couple highlights that I wanted to share. I left my. Our revenue sharing is going up significantly. It is going from $970,000 to $1,028,000. That is about $60,000. That's by far the most that I've seen it go up. But there is portion of it is required to be spent in law enforcement, and that is that $19,000 needs to be spent on law enforcement. So again, we do have a couple unfunded, well, I shouldn't say unfunded, a couple out of the ordinary expenditures that we need to, that we'll talk about in capital projects, that this would be perfect for. They need some new CB radios, so we'll talk about that. So real property tax collections, real estate property tax collections are going up from 6 million to 6.3 million. Personal property tax collections, which is primarily turbines, is going from 3.2 million down to 3.1. So we had a farm that was in construction status this most recent year. And that almost offset the depreciation of the rest of the farms. So it dropped a little bit. Overall,
Would you repeat that again? It was at 3.what and it went down to 3.1 million?
it went from 3.2 to 3.1.
Okay.
So the new farm that was being taxed at 50% or whatever it is for construction.
And these haven't put online yet, have they?
Correct.
But they're on about 50% now. Because they delivered the product.
Yeah.
And so when they get them up, they'll praise them in December and then it'll be on.
And by the first of the year, they'll be cooking. So that'll be 100% out of 73 windmills.
But that'll be next year.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
next year.
Yep.
And that'll completely offset the loss.
Yeah,
Yep. So overall tax collections will be up $200,000, and that's important to keep that in mind when we go in and discuss negotiation tactics. For the most part, though, I have a few more to do in the general government, but overall, it looks like it's gonna come in under what we budgeted for this year, which was it's always nice to see.
You're not done yet.
Not done yet. Not done yet. And public safety, we will most likely increase. Which will cause the overall general fund to increase, but we'll get the complete picture at the next meeting. Did anything pop out from your quick review of the summary sheet that you wanted me to ask? And like I said, we have a month to look at these, and we'll continue updating them. These have not gone out to the department heads yet, the majority of them. Angie's gonna have ample time to review her elections and county clerk departments.
So I have a question on that.
Mhm.
So on the total expenditures, it looks like it's like the right total, 428,000. But for some reason, when it carried over onto this front page, it's only 197. Did you see that? So it's kind of like right in your,
Oh, it looks like I probably just connected to the wrong side.
Those look a little odd.
Yep.
Now, now that we've added the airport expenditures and that to the budget, now where are we gonna be able to find that?
The airport will be its own separate fund, so it will not be in the general fund.
Okay.
So it'll be, we'll need to, we're gonna need to call an airport authority meeting at some time soon to discuss their capital projects, the meeting with the
So,
advisory board and how we're going to
all right,
transfer over the budgeting, accounting and funds, because that's something that we can handle. We know how to pay bills,
yeah,
you know.
that way.
And basically, we just gotta move that account over to us, have that revenue coming from FAA or wherever it comes from into our account. We gotta get set up with them.
Yep, work with the bank. Maybe we can just transfer ownership of the actual bank account.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we just set that up for the airport.
Yep.
Any other questions on the starting of this?
Well, we've got capital projects, if we want to go over capital projects real quick.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing that I want you to take away from the capital projects, and I'll take questions on this next meeting and the meeting after that, is I try to find a way to get as much done as possible, but still fitting it within the budget, okay? So after meeting with all of the departments that wanted to submit capital projects, our total for the year was about $750,000. $45,000 of that has already been approved for ARP funding, which is cyclical computer replacement. We approved 3 years of being able to replace desktops with laptops that would help make our employees more mobile. Because at the time that was pandemic fund approved. So, and I love being able to carry around my laptop, and I want everyone else to be able to do it too. $238,000 of that $750 is special revenue funds. Special revenue funds are self-funded funds. For example, consist of Parks and Rec, paving project at Reed's Park for $150,000.
It's
And
not there. You were at the meeting. I brought up, it wasn't gonna be $150,000 they want to put out. They want to pay the driveway that goes to the bag boat launch. I was out there today and looked at it again. Thought, make sure it's a gravel road that comes to the end where all the parking is all paved, everything's paved there. You just get off and go through a gate, and it's a road on the north side. It goes all the way back to where you can drop a boat in. Parking's all to the south of it. I just think we could, and I'd said to them, I would vote for it if we put it into a capital improvement project and decided on it not to be paving. Because what happens is that now all of a sudden you'll look at it next year and say, well, we approved to pave it. I think this committee's got to look at some more about that 150,000. They have the money to do it. I just don't think it should be earmarked to paving. We left the meeting that other night and it wasn't earmarked to paving. They said, we're just gonna put in a line item veto or a line item to have capital improvement of 150,000.
So it could be for anything.
Could be for anything. And so then when he got here, it was for paving.
Yeah, so.
I caught that and I put a call in P, I haven't heard back from him, but
Okay.
So what do they want to use it for?
well, they want to pave that north drive. It's out kind of out in the field and goes back to the pond. I mean, I want to tell you, our parks are nice. They are just beautiful.
People are starting to complain because they are so nice and they need money for their parks. That's why I brought that up about Alma.
Well, I don't think this tax money, you can take anything and put it in Elm or anywhere else, but I think there just has to be a different decision about paving. I mean, that's just a lot of money to put on the ground for. I was out there today, probably at 1 o'clock.
Well, how many boats are they ever gonna put in a gravel pit? I don't understand.
None, it's not very far. I mean,
So why would you?
you want to pay to get back there. They say, well, you get dusty, cars will get dusty.
Why?
I know it. And it's hard surface. It looks like it's got like crushed concrete.
Probably crushed asphalt. Okay.
I drove my car there.
Yeah.
I drove probably 15 mile an hour.
Well, I mean, as much as they're gonna use that, that's a lot of money just to spend to put a boat in it.
It's just a boat launch goes down there in the circle, it just circles around there and there's.
That's all they probably put in is a fishing boat,
The park.
just a small fishing boat.
They got a lot of nice stuff. But
Sam, when's the next meeting? I didn't catch that.
it'll be the meeting after, they meet on that 5 o'clock after our second meeting. So whenever we meet 2 weeks, it'll be the next Wednesday after that.
It'll be the 16th
Yeah,
at 5 o'clock.
yeah, at the library.
Okay, I'll come to another one. I know
But,
myself.
I mean, I just left there thinking that we were just gonna have a capital improvement line of 150 grand they had to spend, but. And I was real specific. I didn't think it'd go to asphalt. And they said, okay, no, we're just gonna make it a line item. We're gonna spend 150. Then when it got here, it's paving. So I just think we need to look at that as a committee.
Perfect. Yeah. Oh, I see it right there. Okay. All right. Well, that's Commission on Aging, gonna pay some parking lot.
Anything else, Chris? I mean,
Yeah,
interrupt you.
no, that's all right. I just want to continue explaining the special revenue funds for projects. The other ones are under Commission on Aging. They have an upgrade 4 bathrooms, seal the blacktop outside in their parking lot. They've been wanting to upgrade their bathrooms for a long time. And they're a self-funded department, so that would come from their own millage or from donations, depending on legally where that needs to come from, because they do have a significant donation fund. So that explains the special revenue fund expenditures of 238,000. Now, the general fund expenditures of $467,000. Not 100% sure that we're going to be able to accomplish all of these in the budget next year. Without tapping into a new funding source, such as if we were to transfer the delinquent tax surplus over to the general fund. My preference would not to be to tap into that, to stay within our means for the year. So there are 2 projects in here that if I didn't feel comfortable with the balancing of the budget in the general fund, that I would either cut back or move to a future year. And it's always good to have a couple of those projects that that you can bump down if it doesn't fit. But I'll highlight those when we get to them. Right now, I'm going to talk about information management, some of the projects that we have going on, and we do want to definitely get all of these done next year. And while I don't fully understand all of these, we have time to bring in some presentations in the future if you want to know more about a specific project. The big one being the phone system replacement. This is at $100,000. I know Matt has been trying to get this on the list for the last 2 or 3 years now. And in the meantime, this board has approved continuances of our current phone contract We did a 3-year extension instead of a 7-year extension because we wanted to shop this around and to look at a new phone system replacement. So it finally fits into our budget for this upcoming year. So we'd like to get that accomplished. The rest of them include, smaller replacements, the building security improvements for the sheriff, security improvements for the courthouse. There's areas that right now, we would like to get some cameras up outside and some places that we can't see. We've had some instances of vandalism in blind spots that we have. And we've also had incidences where we have a camera in a place where it captures something that is extremely helpful to our insurance company. And it's, the cameras that we have put up have paid for themselves 10 times over. So we would like to put up some more, and there is grant money available, and we are going to go after grant money for some of the security stuff. But for now, we do have it in the general fund, because if we get the grant money, it's going to go into the general fund. Animal control, they do not have anything on for this upcoming year. They have a couple improvements that they would like to see in the future. The board will accept the plan, but will only approve the current year's expenditures. So if somebody has something in the future, like an animal control truck in 2028, we don't need to worry about kicking that off because we're not approving that expenditure. We won't do that for 5 years. So if there's something in the current column, that's what we want to focus on. The drain office improvements and ADA compliance. They have been asking for some improvements at their building for 4 or 5 years. And it is finally, we're able to do it this year in the budget, I feel. Buildings and grounds, we have our cyclical carpet replacement, painting. They are requesting a new truck this upcoming year. Both of their trucks were old hand-me-downs. One of them, not sure that they should be driving right now, but they do because we make do with what we have, and they haven't asked for a new truck in a very long time. Sealing the blacktop, we have to not only seal our parking lot, but we have a contract with the church across the road to use their parking lot in exchange for use of that. We do maintain it, so that would also be part of the sealing contract. These next two are the two items that would be cut or pushed off to the future should we have some issues. One of them is converting LED lighting at the courthouse and or jail. Tony's been working with Consumers Energy for 2 years now on a plan on how to convert our LED light or to LED lighting. And the cost savings and the energy savings are very large. I think it would be 6 years before that conversion would actually pay for itself. And LED lights have a 7-year life to them. If you can turn them on and they won't go out for 7 years. Tony's been pushing for this, and I think we can get at least start working office to office as much as our budget would allow us.
I believe it's after today, you can't buy any more incandescent light bulbs.
Really?
I guess today was the day. Just a little sidebar, but I think today, August 1st, that's the day.
So what are they gonna do? Take everything they have on the shelf and send it back?
There's nothing on the shelves now.
Okay.
Can't buy it.
So is that fixtures or like bulbs?
The bulbs themselves. Well, you can put an LED bulb in a regular fixture. That's not a problem. It's the bulb itself. A 60-watt bulb, you use at home and put in your lamp, you can't get them anymore.
Yeah, I'd say I wouldn't be surprised if buildings and grounds changes 5 to 8 fluorescent fixtures a day almost. It's incredible. We go through light bulbs almost like we do paper. The next project would be starting to replace courthouse windows. We have windows right now that water comes through them when there is a storm. I don't think there's a window in this courthouse that you don't feel a breeze in. And it'll be an expensive project because they would all be custom. Those holes were cut in the walls 125 years ago. So I would like to start looking at doing that. And the last little bit, we did commission on aging. The last little bit would be the sheriff, his cyclical vehicles. And then there is changeover for those vehicles. And then some of his cyclical replacement items that would help round out the sheriff's office would be the radars, the radios, and then the radio system in the jail that we're gonna try and start replacing. And I think those would be some ideal places to use that some of the opioid money could go towards that 15%. And then also the $20,000 of revenue sharing that we'll be getting this next year that is required to go to the sheriff's office. I would like to use that to help fund some of these replacement. Does anybody have any questions related to that? No, this will be a working document and it'll still be a live document when we go into next year's budget, because when something unexpected happens, typically we have to either use savings or maybe put off the project.
System, will they go to internet phones?
I don't know the answer to that, but I do believe that it will be is it VoIP? Is that what?
That's save a ton of money if you get away from Frontier who comes off phone lines in 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Well, I look forward to seeing what Matt can do because he always exceeds expectations.
Any questions on any of that? Any unfinished business? Why don't we ask for public comment now? We're going to go into closed session here in a few minutes. Any public comment or board comments?
Just want to say that we will not be making any decisions or coming out of
Closed session.
with any decisions. So
Just for
necessary.
All righty.
I'll make a motion that we go into closed session to discuss union contract.
Been supported to go into closed session for union contract talks. All in favor?
Could I request that Sheila Barnaby attends?
Yeah.
That's first.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll go into closed session.